The story opens in the sleek, glass-walled office of Ethan Hall, a 28-year-old corporate attorney whose life revolves around deadlines, high-stakes deals, and meticulous control. He's poised at the pinnacle of a crucial negotiation for a major corporate merger, papers meticulously aligned, phone buzzing intermittently, and the hum of a city that never sleeps in the background. Just as he's about to seal the deal, the office door opens, and in walks Olivia Carter, the woman who once held his heart. Her presence is a jolt, a sudden fracture in the carefully constructed world of contracts and legal strategy. Olivia's smile is polite, almost warm, but there's a glint of something unspoken in her eyes, a mixture of nostalgia, defiance, and subtle calculation. Ethan's jaw tightens. The air between them is electric, charged with memories of a relationship that ended in heartbreak, bitter words, and unanswered questions. Every gesture, Olivia's poised stance, Ethan's hesitant shift in the chair, the brush of a hand against the desk speaks volumes. The audience immediately senses the unspoken history, the tension between professionalism and personal pain, as Ethan struggles to focus on the deal in front of him while his mind races through the memory of their messy breakup. The first beat establishes stakes, not just in business, but in the emotional realm, pulling the reader into the dual conflict of past betrayal and unresolved longing. The emotional stakes intensify when Olivia drops the bombshell: she's engaged. Ethan's chest tightens, his pulse quickens, and the bitterness of past heartbreak surges as if it were yesterday. The words hit like a physical blow, evoking memories of broken promises, late-night arguments, and the intimacy they once shared. Yet, just as Ethan braces for the sting of loss, Olivia reveals a shocking twist: she's not truly engaged. The engagement is a carefully constructed facade designed to appease her family, who is determined to see her settled. Her request is audacious. She wants Ethan to pretend to be her fiancé, at least long enough to convince her parents of her supposed commitment. The audacity of the request strikes Ethan in multiple ways: the ego wounded by the deception, the pride threatened by the idea of participating in a charade, and the lingering desire that refuses to fade despite the betrayal he still carries. The tension is palpable. Every glance, every pause, every measured word between them is loaded with subtext. The audience feels Ethan's internal battle, part skepticism, part hurt, part lingering love, while Olivia's intentions, carefully guarded behind her composed demeanor, keep the readers guessing. This moment deepens the stakes beyond simple romantic tension, blending family expectations, personal pride, and unresolved emotional trauma into a complex and compelling scenario. Ethan's reaction is a study in conflicted emotions. He wants to refuse outright, to walk away and protect himself from potential manipulation. Yet, beneath the surface, there's a flicker of curiosity and unresolved attachment that he cannot dismiss. He scrutinizes Olivia, reading every micro-expression, every shift in posture, searching for hints of deceit or sincerity. Her eyes, calm but vulnerable, speak of burdens she cannot share openly, stirring something protective and empathetic within him. The audience sees him wrestling with pride and principle. Should he trust her? Is this a genuine plea, or a trap designed to torment him further? The hesitancy, the sharp inhale of breath, the subtle tightening of his fists, these small, human reactions reveal the tension between his past heartbreak and the allure of rekindled connection. Reluctantly, Ethan agrees to meet Olivia's parents as her fiancé, setting into motion a story filled with high emotional stakes and layered conflicts. This opening scene hooks the audience immediately by juxtaposing professional mastery with raw, personal vulnerability. The tension is not only romantic but psychological, with a promise of drama, secrets, and the potential for both reconciliation and betrayal. By blending body language, unspoken history, and the delicate dance of pride and longing, the scene creates an intense, emotionally charged beginning that demands attention and investment, ensuring readers are immediately drawn into Ethan and Olivia's complicated world. Ethan Hall's life is a study in disciplined structure and relentless ambition. At 28, he's carved a path to corporate success, his days a meticulous sequence of negotiations, meetings, and legal strategy sessions. Beneath this polished exterior, however, lies a man shaped by emotional neglect and past heartbreak. His family's distant, career-first mentality left little room for vulnerability or emotional intimacy, creating in Ethan a careful armor against disappointment. This armor, once necessary to survive a childhood of expectation and indifference, now shields him from deeper connections even with those he loves. The failed relationship with Olivia Carter remains a lingering scar, a mix of regret, anger, and unresolved longing. Their breakup, messy and sudden, left Ethan questioning his judgment, fueling a cautious cynicism toward trust and intimacy. Though he excels professionally, personally he struggles to reconcile the desire for connection with the fear of repeating past pain. Ethan's loyalty, however, is unwavering. When he cares, he does so deeply, even if that care is buried beneath layers of pride and restraint. This complexity makes him compelling. The audience sees a man who is capable of passion and devotion but remains imprisoned by fear of vulnerability. His interactions with Olivia, therefore, are fraught with tension. Every glance, every pause a battleground between the rational mind that demands control and the heart that still remembers the intensity of their past love. Olivia Carter embodies a delicate balance of independence, charm, and internal conflict. Witty and quick-minded, she navigates her professional and social world with ease, often masking the weight she carries from familial obligations. Unlike Ethan, Olivia's upbringing was steeped in tradition, expectation, and a pressure to conform to her family's vision of success and propriety. Her choices, particularly in matters of love and career, have often required sacrifice, leaving her with a sense of guilt she rarely shares. The supposed engagement, a facade to placate her family, is just one instance of this recurring compromise, highlighting the tension between her personal desires and filial duty. Despite her composed and independent exterior, Olivia harbors genuine warmth and vulnerability, qualities that surface most with Ethan, her former lover. Their forced proximity reignites fragments of old intimacy, small, almost imperceptible gestures, lingering eye contact, and shared laughter that remind her of what she once cherished. Her wit and charm serve as both shield and bridge, a way to navigate high-stress situations while subtly reconnecting with Ethan. The internal conflict she experiences, between honesty and deception, desire and duty, adds depth to her character. The audience senses that Olivia's choices are never casual, they are calculated acts of love, guilt, and responsibility. Her complexity ensures that her interactions with Ethan are rich with subtext, making every moment of connection charged with both past memories and present stakes. The current scenario places Ethan and Olivia in an emotionally charged rehearsal of roles they never anticipated, pretending to be engaged for the sake of her family. The forced proximity creates a fragile tension that oscillates between professional cooperation and deeply personal exposure. As they rehearse dinners, conversations, and affectionate gestures, subtle layers of their past intimacy emerge, catching both off guard. A touch lingers slightly longer than necessary, a shared glance carries the weight of memory, a joke prompts laughter that feels both nostalgic and tentative. Ethan grapples with a duality, maintaining professional detachment while confronting the persistent pull of unresolved feelings. He notices details he had overlooked before, the curve of Olivia's smile, the ease of her laughter, the grace in small gestures. Simultaneously, Olivia is acutely aware of the ethical and emotional complexities she's introduced. Guilt for deceiving her family collides with the undeniable attraction that still exists between them, and the act of pretending rekindles emotions she thought long buried. The layered emotional tone is crucial. Warmth simmers beneath tension, tension is heightened by the presence of lingering desire, and both are moderated by uncertainty and fear of exposure. The audience is drawn into this slow-burning emotional rhythm, sensing the careful negotiation of feelings as past wounds confront present needs. These rehearsals, ostensibly about appearances, become an arena for intimacy, vulnerability, and subtle emotional reconnect, setting the stage for deeper conflict and eventual transformation. The inciting incident ignites during a meticulously orchestrated family dinner at Olivia's parents' home. The atmosphere is carefully curated, fine china, subdued lighting, and polite conversation meant to cement the illusion of engagement between Ethan and Olivia. Tension simmers beneath the surface, as both pretend with practiced ease, each gesture measured, each smile calibrated to convince her family. Yet the fragile equilibrium shatters when Olivia's younger sister, innocently blunt and unaware of the stakes, blurts out that she knows Ethan and Olivia aren't truly engaged. The words hang in the air like a sudden storm, shocking everyone at the table. Ethan feels the floor shift beneath him, a visceral jolt of betrayal and humiliation rippling through his chest. Olivia freezes, panic flickering in her eyes, as she scrambles to contain the situation. Her family's reaction ranges from disbelief to confusion, their probing questions slicing through the pretense they had all been maintaining. The audience witnesses the collision of intention and accident, the way a single word can dismantle carefully constructed illusions. In this moment, the tension is almost tangible, charged with a mix of fear, embarrassment, and emotional exposure. Ethan's mind races. Is this a trap? Was Olivia complicit in this revelation? Or is it an honest mistake? This critical trigger sets the emotional and narrative stakes, propelling the story forward into a labyrinth of mistrust, vulnerability, and unspoken desire that will define the characters' evolving dynamics. In the wake of the revelation, Ethan's initial shock transforms into a potent mixture of anger, confusion, and doubt. His trust in Olivia, already tentative from past heartbreak, feels fractured. Questions churn relentlessly. Was he manipulated into participating in a deception for Olivia's benefit? Did her motives prioritize self-preservation over honesty, or is she genuinely constrained by familial expectations? Each answer seems simultaneously plausible and threatening, feeding a gnawing uncertainty that threatens to derail not only the ruse but the fragile connection they've begun to rebuild. Olivia, in turn, is forced to confront her own vulnerability. The confident, witty facade she has maintained cracks under scrutiny, exposing the fear and guilt that have long accompanied her decisions. The audience sees her inner turmoil, a woman desperate to protect her family, maintain appearances, and salvage her relationship with Ethan, all while grappling with her own insecurities. The tension is amplified through subtle interactions, the avoidance of direct eye contact, the way Ethan's hands clench and unclench, the hesitant laughter that masks discomfort. Miscommunication becomes a silent antagonist, as assumptions and half-truths proliferate. This twist deepens the narrative complexity, transforming a simple misunderstanding into a crucible of emotional confrontation, forcing both characters to evaluate their feelings, priorities, and the cost of deception, while intensifying the intimacy and vulnerability shared between them. The immediate consequence of the revelation is heightened scrutiny from Olivia's parents, whose suspicion now hovers like an oppressive weight. Questions are more pointed, their gazes sharper, and their expectations intensified. Ethan, though initially defensive and wary, begins to notice subtleties in Olivia's demeanor that reveal her genuine distress, a hand trembling slightly as she pours wine, the fleeting shadow of anxiety across her face, and the quick, almost imperceptible sighs she cannot fully suppress. These glimpses of vulnerability ignite a complex emotional response in him. Anger mingles with empathy, resentment mingles with enduring attraction. Olivia, meanwhile, confronts her own fears head-on. She grapples with the possibility of being judged harshly, of losing Ethan's respect, and of failing to meet her family's rigid standards. The forced proximity and high stakes serve as a mirror, reflecting their desires, insecurities, and the unresolved chemistry that binds them. The emotional tone of the scene is charged, intimate, tense, and layered with miscommunication, unspoken longing, and hesitation. Through these moments of exposure, both characters begin subtle but meaningful growth. Ethan learns to recognize and respond to vulnerability, moving beyond rigid emotional detachment, while Olivia gains the courage to assert her own needs and navigate the delicate balance between honesty and obligation. The inciting incident thus propels the narrative into a heightened state of emotional awareness, setting the stage for both conflict and romance to evolve organically. As the narrative moves forward, the pretense of Ethan and Olivia's engagement becomes increasingly demanding, forcing them into a series of public performances that test both their patience and emotional resilience. From attending formal family gatherings to high society events and casual social outings, each scenario demands careful coordination of gestures, words, and expressions. They must laugh at each other's jokes, hold hands at precisely the right moment, and respond with the perfect balance of intimacy and decorum, all under the scrutiny of family, friends, and colleagues. The constant act places their emotions under strain, as every action carries double meaning. To the outside world, it is a performance of love. Privately, it is a delicate negotiation of boundaries, desire, and trust. The audience witnesses how these performances simultaneously pull them closer and push them apart. Subtle glances that linger too long, a touch that feels too intimate, or a shared joke sparks flickers of old feelings, creating a combustible mixture of nostalgia and longing. The rising tension is compounded by the fact that Ethan and Olivia cannot fully separate their true emotions from the roles they play, blurring the line between acting and authenticity. Each event escalates the stakes, the deeper they immerse themselves in the charade. The more complicated it becomes to distinguish genuine connection from the necessity of performance, setting the stage for both tender moments and inevitable conflict that will drive the emotional arc forward. Tension escalates further when Ethan discovers that Olivia is hiding a critical detail about her ex-business partner, a secret that triggers his deep-seated fear of betrayal. Though the truth may be benign, Ethan's interpretation is colored by past heartbreak, causing suspicion and a sense of emotional jeopardy. Simultaneously, Olivia feels suffocated by the charade, the constant pretense of a life she cannot yet fully claim pressing against her sense of self. She fears that Ethan, already guarded and wary, will withdraw entirely if he discovers her omission, rekindling the heartbreak they both sought to heal. The audience is placed squarely in the center of this delicate emotional battlefield. Moments of tenderness, a shared glance, a reassuring hand on a shoulder, exist alongside sharp, emotionally charged arguments. These confrontations are not superficial, they are fueled by unresolved past pain, unmet expectations, and the struggle to reconcile desire with mistrust. As Ethan and Olivia navigate misunderstandings, the walls they have constructed around their hearts begin to crack. The tension is not merely romantic, it is psychological, showing the push and pull of vulnerability and self-protection. Miscommunication acts as both obstacle and narrative engine, creating a believable escalation of stakes that keeps readers invested in the characters' emotional journeys, while also deepening the audience's understanding of their individual insecurities and latent longing. Adding layers to the rising tension, external pressures further complicate Ethan and Olivia's fake engagement. Olivia's family, already demanding and emotionally intense, increases their scrutiny, probing for details about the couple's future, subtly challenging Olivia's ability to maintain composure and authenticity. Meanwhile, Ethan faces professional dilemmas requiring travel, high-stakes decisions, and long hours, straining the limited time they have to maintain the illusion. Each absence or misstep feeds suspicion, jealousy, and fear of abandonment, amplifying the emotional stakes. Within this web of obligations and expectations, fleeting moments of genuine intimacy, quiet smiles, whispered reassurances, shared laughter contrast sharply with heated arguments and misunderstandings. These interludes reveal the character's vulnerabilities. Ethan begins to observe Olivia beyond her confident exterior, noting the fatigue and worry she conceals, while Olivia confronts the duality of her actions, the ethical compromises she makes, and the risk of losing Ethan's trust again. The tone throughout is tightly wound, balancing believability with emotional intensity. Readers witness love and resentment existing simultaneously, tenderness and tension intertwined. This oscillation of emotions creates a dynamic, immersive experience, emphasizing the complexity of modern relationships under duress. The rising tension establishes momentum, ensuring that every argument, glance, and moment of intimacy serves the dual purpose of deepening character development and propelling the story toward the inevitable emotional climax. The narrative reaches its zenith during Olivia's sister's wedding, a setting brimming with romance, celebration, and social scrutiny. The carefully orchestrated event, designed to distract and entertain, becomes the stage for a revelation that shatters the fragile equilibrium between Ethan and Olivia. Amid the cascading floral arrangements and the soft glow of fairy lights, Olivia's secret comes to light. Her engagement story, the very pretense that has driven their recent proximity, was partially true. Her ex-boyfriend had indeed attempted to manipulate her into marriage for financial gain, a fact she had concealed from Ethan to protect both him and herself from further emotional harm. The disclosure hits Ethan like a tidal wave, leaving him disoriented and heartbroken. He feels betrayed, not only by the act of omission but by the sheer weight of the deception, questioning whether their entire shared experience had been genuine or another layer of manipulation. The audience witnesses the collision of context, past heartbreak, and present intimacy, Ethan's pride, vulnerability, and lingering love battle for dominance, while Olivia grapples with the consequences of revealing her truth. The wedding setting amplifies the tension, its celebratory atmosphere contrasting starkly with the emotional turbulence, creating a cinematic effect that magnifies the stakes. Every glance, every tremor in voice, and every faltering step toward confrontation becomes charged with layered meaning. In this moment, the story transcends mere romantic tension, pushing both characters toward unavoidable emotional reckoning. Following the revelation, Ethan and Olivia find themselves alone on the balcony, away from prying eyes yet fully exposed to their emotions. The night air is cool, but the heat between them burns with unfiltered intensity. Words erupt, accusations of betrayal, fear, and past misunderstandings spill forth in a torrent. Ethan challenges Olivia's judgment and her secrecy, his voice trembling with hurt and disbelief, while Olivia defends herself, tears streaking her face, explaining her motives and the pressures she faced. In this raw exchange, they confront vulnerabilities long suppressed, Ethan's fear of repeating heartbreak, Olivia's guilt for deceiving him, and the lingering pain that has shadowed their interactions. Every confession and rebuttal strips away the barriers they've built, leaving only the core of their feelings exposed. The argument is not merely verbal, it is physical and emotional, manifesting in fleeting touches, shaking hands, and trembling breaths. The audience experiences the intimacy of their confrontation, the simultaneous clash of anger and love creating a tension so palpable that it mirrors real-life emotional turbulence. In this space, past misunderstandings are untangled and re-examined, their shared history reframed in light of honesty. By the end of the confrontation, neither is fully composed, yet the seeds of understanding begin to take root, laying the groundwork for a revelation that will alter the trajectory of their relationship. As the argument reaches its emotional apex, Olivia utters a confession that alters the course of both their hearts. She has fallen in love with Ethan again, a love that emerged amidst the charade of pretense. The vulnerability in her eyes, the quiver in her voice, and the tremble of her hands reveal that her feelings are not fabricated but real, raw, and undeniable. Ethan, initially reeling from anger and hurt, feels a shift within himself, sudden clarity in the fog of confusion. In that vulnerable, charged moment, he realizes he has never stopped loving Olivia. The twist is not only emotional but psychological. Both characters acknowledge the authenticity of their rekindled feelings while reconciling the mistakes, misunderstandings, and barriers that have kept them apart. The balcony, under the soft illumination of wedding lights and a backdrop of distant laughter and music, becomes a cinematic tableau of raw intimacy and revelation. Their emotional walls crumble entirely, replaced by a shared vulnerability that is as terrifying as it is liberating. The audience witnesses love and trust being renegotiated in real time, with intensity heightened by the contrast of public festivity and private emotional exposure. This climax, explosive and deeply human, transforms their relationship, resolving lingering tension while preserving complexity. The stage is set for resolution, two people stripped of pretense, confronting the truth of their desires, and poised to explore a love that has survived betrayal, secrecy, and fear. The resolution begins with Ethan and Olivia engaging in honest, unguarded conversations that allow them to confront their past pain and misunderstandings. Each dialogue is deliberate, with pauses, hesitations, and thoughtful reflections that underscore the depth of their emotional scars. Ethan, previously emotionally guarded, gradually allows himself to express vulnerability, revealing insecurities and lingering fears of heartbreak. Olivia, in turn, acknowledges the guilt and pressure that shaped her decisions, opening up about her ex-boyfriend, family expectations, and her fears of losing Ethan's trust. These exchanges are tender and emotionally charged, marked by shared glances, fleeting touches, and moments of silent understanding that speak as loudly as words. Through these interactions, the audience witnesses a slow but steady rebuilding of trust, an intricate dance of forgiveness, and the re-establishment of emotional intimacy. The emphasis is on realism. Reconciliation is not instantaneous, but measured, earned through sincerity and mutual acknowledgement of past mistakes. As they navigate these emotional conversations, the chemistry that was rekindled during the charade evolves into genuine connection, with laughter, teasing, and quiet affection signaling that love has survived the trials they endured. This stage sets the foundation for the next step, the assertion of personal agency and empowerment within their lives, individually and together. Parallel to their emotional reconciliation, Olivia confronts her family, asserting her independence and autonomy with newfound courage. She articulates her boundaries clearly, explaining the complexities of her decisions, the pressures she faced, and her intent to live authentically rather than merely meeting expectations. Her family, initially resistant, begins to recognize her agency, offering reluctant respect for her decisiveness and moral clarity. This confrontation is pivotal for Olivia's personal growth. It represents a break from old patterns of guilt and obligation, replacing compliance with assertiveness. Ethan, observing and supporting her from the sidelines, experiences his own evolution. He learns that opening his heart does not equate to vulnerability for its own sake but requires discernment, trust, and the willingness to embrace emotional risk. Both characters grow individually. Olivia cultivates self-confidence and autonomy, while Ethan learns to reconcile vulnerability with strength. The narrative emphasizes the significance of these personal victories, illustrating that love is most meaningful when paired with respect for self and the other. The audience witnesses a maturation of character that transforms their relationship from one defined by pretense and fear into one grounded in honesty, mutual support, and the capacity for genuine intimacy. This dual growth reinforces the story's message: empowerment and love are inseparable when nurtured through conscious, courageous choices. The culmination of the arc sees Ethan and Olivia consciously choosing a relationship built on truth rather than deception. The fake engagement, once a source of tension and misunderstanding, ends, leaving them free to pursue a bond forged from mutual trust, respect, and understanding. Their interactions are now unburdened by pretense. Gestures are authentic, laughter unforced, and shared moments infused with sincerity. The emotional tone is uplifting yet grounded, reflecting the realism of their journey. Happiness is earned, not given. Both characters carry the lessons of the past, applying them to navigate disagreements, communicate openly, and maintain empathy for each other's perspectives. This empowerment beat reinforces the story's overarching theme: personal agency and emotional courage create the conditions for love to thrive. Scenes of tender normalcy, quiet dinners, shared walks, and intimate conversations illustrate the transformation from performance to authenticity, giving the audience a sense of earned fulfillment. The story closes on a note of optimism and completeness. Ethan and Olivia's relationship is no longer a charade but a conscious choice, enriched by growth, resilience, and mutual respect. Through their journey, they exemplify the balance of personal independence and romantic partnership, leaving readers with the satisfying resonance of love and empowerment fully realized. The arc ensures that both characters emerge stronger, emotionally mature, and ready to face the future together, grounded in the authenticity they have fought to reclaim. The story's conclusion finds Ethan and Olivia on a quiet rooftop, high above the city that had mirrored so many of their emotional highs and lows. The twinkling lights below seem to echo the flickering emotions that have defined their journey: moments of tension, heartbreak, longing, and reconciliation. The air is cool, carrying the faint hum of distant traffic, yet the rooftop feels like a private sanctuary, insulated from the pressures of family, work, and the charade that has defined their past weeks. In this intimate space, Olivia hands Ethan a small, delicate sketch she created of their first meeting, a memory that had once been fraught with unspoken tension and awkward hesitation. The gesture is simple but profound, representing not just nostalgia, but hope, love, and the growth they have experienced individually and together. Every line of the sketch, every careful detail, carries emotional weight, signaling that she remembers, cherishes, and has learned from the past. Ethan studies it silently, a soft smile tugging at his lips, reflecting recognition, forgiveness, and an understanding of how far they've come. The rooftop scene is intentionally subdued, emphasizing the quiet intimacy of their connection and the symbolic resonance of shared memories. Here, action gives way to reflection, and dialogue becomes minimal, allowing the weight of emotion to speak for itself. The audience feels the culmination of tension and growth, sensing that love, once fractured by lies and misunderstandings, has matured into something authentic and enduring. In this final beat, Ethan and Olivia reach a deep sense of emotional closure, a quiet acknowledgement of the trials they endured and the resilience of their connection. They sit side by side, hands brushing before interlacing, a gesture that conveys both comfort and commitment without words. Each understands the significance of their journey, the deception that brought them together, the misunderstandings that tested their trust, and the courage required to face vulnerability head-on. Their smiles are gentle, unforced, reflecting relief, satisfaction, and the mutual recognition of love that has been rediscovered and healed. The rooftop becomes a metaphorical space of equilibrium, a vantage point from which they can survey the chaos behind them and the promise of possibility ahead. In this moment, the audience sees the culmination of character growth, Ethan's willingness to embrace emotional openness, Olivia's assertion of agency, and the shared understanding that love is not merely a feeling, but a practice nurtured by honesty, empathy, and patience. Olivia's assertion of agency, and the shared understanding that love is not merely a feeling, but a practice nurtured by honesty, empathy, and patience. The emotional tone is heartwarming yet bittersweet. The characters carry traces of their past pain even as they enjoy the serenity of their hard-won connection. Through subtle gestures, the soft squeeze of a hand, the quiet laughter shared, the lingering gaze, the story emphasizes that closure is not about erasing the past, but integrating it into a renewed foundation for trust and intimacy. This scene delivers a sense of catharsis, leaving the audience emotionally satisfied while highlighting the transformative power of love. The story culminates with a single, resonant thought: "What started as a lie became the truest thing I've ever felt." This line crystallizes the entire emotional arc, summarizing the journey from deception, heartbreak, and miscommunication to authenticity, trust, and enduring love. It serves as both reflection and declaration, encapsulating the bittersweet beauty of their story, the irony of a charade that ultimately revealed profound truths about themselves and each other. The rooftop, the city lights, and the shared sketch are visual and symbolic anchors, grounding the narrative in tangible moments while allowing the emotions to resonate universally. Ethan and Olivia remain side by side, a tableau of intimacy, growth, and emotional maturity. The audience is left with the impression that love is resilient, capable of healing even the deepest wounds when nurtured with honesty, courage, and empathy. The tone is perfectly balanced between heartwarming satisfaction and poignant reflection, achieving the emotional impact that makes stories memorable and shareable. Every element, from setting to dialogue, gesture to inner thought, works in harmony to provide closure while leaving a lingering sense of hope and fulfillment. The final scene is cinematic, emotionally rich, and deeply human, ensuring that viewers or readers depart with a sense of catharsis, the satisfaction of resolution, and the uplifting reminder that true love can be rediscovered even after deception and heartbreak. It is the kind of ending designed to resonate, linger, and evoke empathy long after the story concludes.